Okay, carrying on talking about strict equality. Uh, the other two questions I suggested in the last video were will anybody work under this system if they're guaranteed equality? And the last question will be can I really measure these three quantities with any kind of rigor at all? Okay, so incentives to work. Yeah, so can okay, if you're guaranteed equal, particularly comfort. I mean, comfort's the thing we probably work for more than anything else. You don't really go to work to be powerful fundamentally. You get some power through it, and also status. I mean, you do get some through work, but I think the bottom line is we work to be able to eat, which would be part of comfort. So I think the key answer here is that comfort is, to remind you, the desirability of your role in society, factoring in your abilities and your tastes, but not including desirability derived from your power or status. Now, basically, it's desirability of role, and probably the two main things that make a role desirable is how much stuff you got, food and comfort, nice house and all that, and how much time you have to enjoy it. So if you're working all the time, but even if you got a mansion, it's not going to be a very desirable role, is it? So basically, if somebody's idle, then they're going to have this really desirable role, which means they'll have could be considered to have a lot of comfort, which means somebody else who's got the same mansion but who's working hard can take them to equality court. So basically, you can't really get away with not working and having a lot of stuff. You might be able to get away with not working and living in dire poverty, because that's not, that may be, or living in some really kind of basic existence, because that might be equally desirable to a kind of normal working life. But it's a bit like we have now, really. You can't have your cake and eat it. You can't have your free time and your stuff. I mean, it's a little bit more complicated than that. Maybe I'm not even 100% sure this system really works, because what if everybody sort of becomes idle at the same time? My head goes in circles when I think about that. But there maybe we'd have to have some other technical fix in the system to deal with that on top of it. But I'd want to keep this equality of comfort. I think it works quite well. So that's roughly an incentive to work, to make an effort. The other thing you could ask, which is quite a valid point, would be to say, oh, but okay, you go to work, but really this system only requires that you endure discomfort. What if you sit on a bed of nails or something, or go to an office, don't do any work, but really just endure boredom? That will be counted as the same as work. So there's nothing keeping people doing useful things like we have in capitalism. That's true, but I think the subtle, hopefully wise answer to that is that I think most people, if they really have to make an effort, would rather do something useful. If you had to go out and dig holes and fill them in again, or you could go out and dig holes to make foundations for houses or something, then I think most people, not everybody perhaps, but most people would do the useful version, would put the effort to good use. So if you think of juries in courts of law, I mean, they tend to decide what they really think. They tend to, I think they convict someone if they think they really did the crime, and they let them off if they really think they didn't do the crime. I think that people kind of do the honest thing, all else equal. So hopefully that's the answer to that. Okay, the last point then. Can we really measure these three quantities? Power, I mean, can you quantify this stuff? The system really does require, depend on some sort of level of rigor, and it's not complete rigor, I suppose, but the system does kind of hang on this being measurable and these transfers making some sort of sense. Yeah, I mean, I basically think these things can be measured, but we probably need. It's not an area of social science that's really been developed, but yeah, the system would require that people, so some intelligent people, take it upon themselves to develop the measurement of power over other people, and the status and comfort. I mean, I think that people, for the reasons I just said, will want to do something useful, and there will be people lining up to sort of explore, become experts in these areas. I mean, just to roughly sketch out how power might be measured. I mean, social scientists might set up an experiment where they basically get two people to try and influence some fact that is important to people, and see what are the kind of features of a life that it has the ability to influence others. That would be the life of a powerful person. And then these equality courts, will be able to draw an expert opinion, as courts always do. And well, if you look at status, how would we quantify that? I mean, I think that's easier than the others probably. It's basically, because I've defined it as respect derived from your role. I mean, you really just pretty much, scientists would have to just study people with different kinds of roles and do surveys of like anonymous surveys of how much do people who know them sort of respect them. You could find a statistical link there, and then that sort of general knowledge could be brought to a court. Like if a teacher is accusing a tax expert of having more status, then an expert could come up and say that, in general, this is true or this isn't true. I mean, lastly, comfort. Yeah, it's not completely easy to measure. You also, because I'm bringing in this subjective taste into comfort. So basically, somebody who loves delivering letters is more comfortable than somebody who doesn't. And then how do you prove that? It's not completely provable, that stuff. But you could. I mean, if you look at a guy who's playing golf a lot, we can sort of assume they're probably doing that because they enjoy it, and not because they think it's benefiting the world, because there isn't. It's hard to see another motive. You have to guess their motives, really, and guess their tastes, but it's, I think, just about possible. And well, very last point, I mean, we're not just measuring these quantities in the courts. We're actually transferring amounts. Yeah, that's even more. It's not completely easy, but if we imagine things like divorce settlements now, where people are trying to quantify psychological damage, and it is impossible to do, but with complete rigor. But if that kind of thing can happen, and if damages to someone's life can be sort of estimated, then this kind of thing can be hopefully estimated and transferred. Okay, then that's it for the basic summary of strict equality. In the blog there's a lot more about sketching out society. What would society be like under strict equality, like different areas, like what would politics be like, and what would the economy be like. I intend to do my next videos about that, but that may be for in a few weeks' time, because I'm going to be a bit busy on holiday. So until then, have a look at the blog where it is. Okay, thank you. All the best.